About the approaches to say goodbye to you, and we'll stay in touch. Thank you, Alberto.
Thank you very much, and
Okay.
have a good journey of work.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. So now we have to move to another presentation, and that will be, say technically, because that will be done by Alexander. You know him, so he will continue the topic of ecosystem, and now we will see the case of Ulyanovsk. And Alexander, for those who don't know, he's deputy director of the governor's office. So he's done a lot, and if you haven't visited the website, but particularly that section which is devoted to open data, I just recommend to do it because you can find a lot of interesting information there and also approaches. So Alexander, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Yuri. Good afternoon, dear WeGO member city officials. So this is a very interesting presentation from our partners from ITMO University, St. Petersburg.
This is what I mentioned before.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with this presentation.
Yeah. And so the previous presentations were about the theoretical background of. Sorry, just. The previous presentations were about theoretical background, scientific background, and now there will be a presentation of our experience. So actually, how we did all these practices, how we implemented all these practices in our real life of the Ulyanovsk region. So first, very briefly, I'll introduce the concepts. So in our experience, in our work, we use the concept from the World Bank. So open data is data that is freely available online for anyone to use and republish for any purpose. While some experts say that true open data must be machine readable, and some think that it just cannot be machine readable. So I won't devote your time to this because our partner from South Korea just told about it. And I will briefly overview our practical agenda of our work and our success way. Before starting the project, our team discussed a lot the prospective ways of reaching our goals. And we went to a conclusion to follow some steps. So first step is research, then design and development, then execution, estimating results, and correcting mistakes. So it looks like project management, isn't it? Yeah. And if you're familiar with Prince 2 standard on project manager, you will know what I mean. And so we specified some steps, and then we asked the World Bank to help us with the research phase. And as you remember the previous presentation, we did first in the world open data readiness assessment. And the pilot was successful, and after this the World Bank did the same projects in Burkina Faso, Chile, and many other countries of the world. You see the results, one of the results of this assessment on the screen, and if you need the full report, I can send you, I can email it to you. So one of the main results was everything is great actually, except the demand side. So, and of course financing. We have lack of resources, and nobody knows about open data, and nobody knows, so nobody needs it. That's why. The other result of the open data readiness assessment, which we did together with the World Bank experts, was the action plan. So actually, we needed to find out which data to publish firstly, secondly, etc., thirdly, and etc. And of course, SWOT analysis, STEEP plan. So if you are familiar with the MBA, so you know what I mean. Yeah, I won't touch this. And finally, we found out, we answered the questions: who are we, where are we, and where are we heading to? That's why we specified our goals. So we had 3 goals. So the first one, to prepare 400 data sets. Second one is to create a self-made open data portal, which must be best in class according to the global experience. And the third goal was to obtain and to sustain the global leadership in the field. And now, after 3 years of 2.5 years of this experience, I can happily say that we reached those goals and even overreached them. So, according to the first goal, we just have now 429 data sets. Just there are so the kinds of data sets and the top necessary data sets. The second goal, we have now best-in-class open data portal. I'll show you just a few slides. And second, we got the global, first the regional, then national, and then global appreciation. From the beginning, we've reached the top rankings of federal ministries, international institutes, NGOs from St. Petersburg, from Moscow, and from other cities. And then we got the global appreciation in the specific profile rankings. There were different rankings. Why I'm talking about them, that when there is only one rating and you just get the first prize, it's just an instant, just one case. But when you get first places in various ratings and transparency, open data, website building, just a very specific and very accurate example. And meanwhile, the main idea that is very popular in many presentations, the lessons we've learned. And the brief is on a slide, please write down if it's necessary, but I will comment on it. The first lesson is that there's no need to spend large sums of money on Open Data Initiative. Actually, we have no money for Open Data Initiative, and so we need to do something with that. From the beginning, in Ulyanovsk region, very limited funding and human resources were provided, and in some cases, allocated funding was several times smaller than compared to other regions. Several times. The mindset of having to do more with less helped to promote a number of thoughtful strategic policy decisions along with operational and technological innovations. And of course, it also increased awareness about international best practices. That's also very important, as you know. The second lesson is that the list of data sets and their content should be carefully specified before releasing. Now, including even definitions and analysis, possible positive and negative consequences. So SWOT analysis is very important here. So released open data should not cause any harm to society or stakeholders. In Moscow, for example, when they published open data about housing and public utilities, so big protest appeared because in one house the costs were twice higher than in the opposite house, and the citizens just came on the streets and asked the public utilities company just why is that? They wanted to change this company, and so that's very specific peculiarities here. So this will help you take into consideration useful guidelines and potential risks. So local officials have the responsibility to channel open data projects. So you need to make a railroad on which you will publish open data. And the third lesson is that sustainability is vital. It means that you needn't just launch the project, publish once. You need to update constantly, you need to develop the project, and your goals must be smart. You know what a smart goal, so these goals must be smart, and sustainability means that maybe every day, maybe every week, you should specify your goals. They may be big, they may be small, but you should do this constantly, from week to week, from month to month, from year to year. Yeah. And effectiveness must be also assessed by the amount of views and downloads. In other words, the government, so you, me, need to estimate the demand side, the satisfaction of the audience, key stakeholders, and you mustn't pay attention only to the number of views and downloads. Just the fact is very important. And only under these conditions the project will be successful actually. And in conclusion, I'd like to express best regards to WeGO for appreciation also our Ulyanovsk region Open Data Initiative. Special thanks to ITMO University and Yuri Misnikov personally, and special regards to Rostelecom company who provided our line internet here, Wi-Fi internet also. They put fiber optics here, and by the way, Rostelecom was the official supplier for Sochi Olympic Games, Winter Olympic Games, and next Olympic Games are in Seoul, in South Korea. So maybe if you need to some, I can give you context because Rostelecom company has great experiences in this field. It will be a real transfer for technologies. And of course, after the presentation, I can give you my business card. If you have additional questions or broader materials, so presentations, open data readiness assessment reports, articles, and special additional information, I can provide it to you after this seminar. So thank you very much. Maybe questions and answers.
Thank you very much, Alexander. So, well, you've been very brief, but again, the fact that you've been brief does not mean that there is nothing to say. There is really a lot to say, and I hope that we can talk about that with the questions and answers. We do have some 10 minutes for that probably. But before going into that, I would sum up a little bit what's been emerging from our presentation. So one issue which we're coming back all the time is that we really have to think of the demand side. So we realize that citizens probably, we discussed yesterday in one of the groups that not citizens all active, they are passive citizens, but it doesn't mean that they cannot benefit from those data. So we have to think how we communicate strategically demand side for that. So if your organization unit is releasing data, so think of in terms of roles and responsibilities, how you can communicate strategically to citizens, general public, industry, non-governmental, civil society at large. So why this open data is needed? Of course, we want as specialists to do so, but ask whether there is any demand for that. We hope so. So we have to communicate. Then priorities. How you identify priorities? Which data sets are more important than others? That's again probably is linked to what we've been discussing in terms of demand side. So why this particular data set is so important for a particular group population? One of the answers could be probably if you have the Freedom of Information Act, for example, and there is a possibility to request some data, so you can see from those requests which data are most on demand, and then you probably can. So this is very important. They're resource-based. Alexander said that they did a quite impressive job without having those resources. So resource competencies are quite needed. So